First of all, congratulations. You made a movie. I think just that on its own always deserves a congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, well done. Very true. Thank you so much.
You filmed this back in 2019, 2020?
I filmed this in December 2019, before the world fell apart. We shot it like between the very beginning of December and pretty much Christmas-ish, for like 15 days in that time period. And so yeah, we shot it all there, and then we started to edit the movie in January. And as as things kind of unfolded, COVID wise, we were essentially editing the picture throughout through COVID, and we did all the post production through COVID, and which I was very grateful for, because ultimately what really matters was to get all the shots in, and we did. And looking at it in retrospect, we were, it was a big sigh of relief. It made the edit a little gloomier than it already ultimately always is, but because you're kind of stuck in a room, and when you go out, you're stuck in another room because of COVID. But I was very lucky. I was one of the lucky ones.
Then you come out of that process just to be stuck in a room permanently for the next couple of years.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So here we are.
So talking about your two fantastic leads, Isabelle Fuhrman and Stefanie Scott, how did you land them? Was there a big casting process, or did you have them in mind early?
I think, to some degree, I think both of them were kind of on my mind for those roles. Those are two actors whose careers I have followed in over the years, and two actors that I really admired. I've always liked, and it was a great privilege for me to work with them. I think we reached out to Stefanie first, of course, because she's the lead, and she was very curious about the script. That's kind of what got everyone into this movie. When you're making a movie of this size, you gotta it's all about being committed to the story because it intrigues you, because you think it's important, because it matters. And Stefanie was really intrigued by the story. She was very curious. We had a very nice conversation, kind of meeting each other, and we talked about it. And things kind of started to work out right from the start. And then Isabelle came in after her. I think she was also very curious about the script. She really liked the project. Part of her also, I know that she really wanted to work with Stefanie. They had worked together in some capacity in the past. They'd been friends for a while.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, so it was kind of like it definitely was an experience that she wanted to have, be able to work with her. And so kind of it all came together nicely, and yeah, I'm very lucky. They're two really awesome actors. People are very familiar with them, and people seem to be very happy to see, especially Isabelle, working on another horror movie.
Yeah, she's got that horror rep from Orphan.
It's funny because I did watch it more or less when it came out a few years ago, and she was somewhere around, I think, 11-ish when she made that, and now she's more or less my age, and it's kind of weird to see that face having grown up and like still being just creepy as hell as when she wants. She's such a delightful and easygoing person to work with, but she can turn on the creepiness, which is it comes in very handy. Yeah.
So in terms of writing the screenplay, did you always have a horror angle in mind, or was there ever a time that this was perhaps a more straightforward, tragic love story?
It definitely started off as a somber, sort of tragic love story that became pretty quickly wrapped into a horror movie. And as soon as I discovered that, I went for the horror lens immediately. I think it was, to me, like a tragic drama that focused on the relationship between Mary and Eleanor, and the sort of antagonistic nature of the people around them it turns their story into a horror story, right? Because that's sort of the issue with the movie, the insecurity and the rigidity at the same time of these hyper Christian personalities. They turn a love story into a horror story, which is, I think, what can happen very often. So yeah, definitely kind of started more as like a drama leaning story and became a horror for sure.
Nice. I'm always interested to know how things are on set with these kind of films, because a lot of these films can be, the content can be quite disturbing, unsettling, etc. And it always makes me wonder, because every filmmaker is different. Some filmmakers like their set to have the tone of the film to keep everyone on some kind of similar wavelength?
Yeah.
How did you guys handle that? Was there, did you just press cut and then everyone started cracking up and laughing, or was there a somber tone?
I think I wish or better, I learned to make the set a place where no matter what you're shooting, when you call cut, you can always crack a laugh. I think for the future, that's one thing that I learned from my movie. To not be, not even too self-serious, but it's like not too stressed about the process, because it is really stressful to make a movie. And so for the future, I definitely learned to do that. For this film, it was, I think, just the fact that we were shooting in the period appropriate house and everybody was wearing the right costume, the actors, and light was only provided by candles, and it was all very gloomy. I think there was a little bit of that kind of somber aura that loomed over our heads. So it was a little bit more on the somber end of the spectrum. I think it was actually Stefanie and Isabelle who would joke with me and kind of try to poke me to laugh a bit more.
Oh, really?
And once again, because I mean, it was my first movie. I was very stressed. I was trying to be as precise as possible about my process. And I think part of me kind of leaned into, I'm making a serious movie, I just have to be serious. And they kind of wonderfully walked me through the idea that, hey, this is like the most fun job in the world, and you're kind of supposed to have fun while you're doing it. So I learned a great deal from that. So I think towards the second half of the shoot, it became a little more relaxed when I sort of relaxed into it. Thanks to my actors who really provided that. Especially, I mean, Stefanie is very focused actor, and I love her process a lot. And I think Isabelle's process looked a little bit different to me. Like, she was really kind of bringing a lot of levity on set, and I was always very grateful for it. And offset, the three of us, we could have conversations and laugh a little bit more towards the second half of the shoot, for sure.
Right. And going from, because you made a number of short films before this, right?
Yeah. I think, most of my short films, I mean, all my short films are always connected to school when I was in film school. So yeah, I kind of jumped a lot. Like, I jumped a pretty big leap. I took a pretty sizable leap between my last short and this. Yeah.
Kind of jumping into the deep end the way you did.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of, maybe you kind of answered it a little bit, but was there any kind of big one thing or two things that you thought, no one ever talks about this when you're filming?
Yeah, everything.
Either in film school or filmmaking friends. I wish someone had mentioned this earlier. Anything specific that comes to mind, or too much?
Yeah, and too much. We could have a conversation for 5 hours about that. I mean, I'm very grateful that I got a chance to go to NYU for film. It's one of the best film schools in the US. I had a great time, and I'm grateful for all the professors that I had and all the lessons I learned. I think maybe there's just an objective kind of limit that film school runs into as far as explaining to you what things really look like when you get into the real world. But
Right, yeah.
a lot. It's making a movie is like, it's a big kind of bureaucratic and like loud machine, and there are a lot of gears. And directing a movie, it's not just kind of planning your shots and directing your actors. It's like you're sort of this like a mayor of this little city that just always wants to just catch on fire, and so you gotta kind of control everything, and not control, sorry, but like you gotta be able to be present for everything. Right. Actually, definitely not control everything, but be present. And so there are a lot of aspects to filmmaking that are not, I think, explained in school that were a bit of a shock for me, for sure. But I'm a big believer in learning by doing. So I learned by doing it, and it was a cold shower, but I'm clean now. So
you made it through. You're going to keep going.
Hopefully.
In terms of the technical aspect, especially deciding to tackle a film with so much natural lighting, what kind of challenges did that present? Was it a straightforward approach, or did you constantly find yourself with a bit of a puzzle?
My cinematographer and I thought it was going to, be much more difficult than I think it turned out to be. My cinematographer always tells me, we were never late for camera on set. Like we never had to wait on camera or lighting. Because, you know, when you only have one source and you're very deliberate about seeing what you want to see and what you do not want to see, because it's very dark, that makes your choices actually a little bit easier. You know, we shot with a great camera, and we shot with a Sony Venice, which is, it leans into darkness very elegantly. You know, there are scenes where there's people walking through a field in complete darkness that we don't have a light source, and you can kind of see things. And I was pretty sort of pleasantly shocked by it. But yeah, it kind of makes it easy. You know, you're ruling a lot of things out by focusing on only one thing. And when you have a candle, you gotta know you're only gonna be seeing one face and one corner. So I think it made things easier a little bit.
Great. Also love just how much the darkness provides uncertainty. So your scene could be simple per se, but the darkness provides the theme almost.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we wanted darkness to be a character just as much as any other person in the movie, as much as my production designer and I wanted the house to be a character. And the limitations they invite you to be more purposeful with your choices. You know, you cannot speak, then you gotta act with your eyes. You cannot see, then you gotta really see the right thing, and that's enough. But yeah,
I've read that you like to stay away from watching too many films, or, you know, watching too much content while actually making a film, because you don't want to be influenced. That being said, in retrospect, or now that you think about it, are there any films that you think may have even subliminally influenced this film?
Yeah, no, I believe that subliminally movies should always inform your process. I try to not watch things while I'm doing it, because, you know, it's like when you watch something so great, it gets you wondering, like, oh, why didn't I not just do it like that? Or like, why even try to do better than that? So I think it's easier for me to take some distance, you know, because there's so much greatness out there. But a few. I mean, there's this great Norwegian movie that came out a few years ago. It's called Thelma, or Telma. I'm not sure that the Norwegian pronunciation is right, but it's another great queer horror, supernatural horror / thriller / drama, but it all comes together very, very cohesively. And it's a movie that I've been recommending people to watch, because I think it's so wonderful and wonderfully made, very visual, great soundscape, very like harrowing, a great lead. The main actor is fantastic. So I was keeping that in mind.
It would be great as a double billing with this film, I think.
I mean, that would be only an honor for me. I'd love that movie. So definitely that. I'm a big fan of European cinema from, you know, 50s and 60s, a lot of Northern European cinema. So I had watched a lot of Bergman movies, like things like Persona, The Silence, Cries and Whispers, a lot of that kind of visual severity and the shadows and the kind of silent acting definitely made its way into my process. And, you know, that there's that. I'm a big fan of the Blair Witch Project. I think it's a fantastic movie that doesn't have pretty much anything to do with my movie as far as style and tone. But I mean, it's such a masterclass in learning how what you don't see is more important than what you see. Mm-hmm. And what you don't see scares you way more than what you don't see. Absolutely. And in my mind, that movie is always present to some degree, because even if my style and tone are much more subdued and understated than that, but it is just such a masterful use of just negative space, both literally and figuratively. So definitely that. I'm a big fan of the original Suspiria, which is once again tonally very bright and colorful, but the matriarchal lineage and the sort of supernatural conspiracy, especially in the character of the matriarch, I mean, it's just so haunting and great. So it was somewhere in my mind for sure.
I can definitely see a pattern in that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like I like to kind of reference or like think about movies that actually don't necessarily have to do with my tone and style, but it's like picking lessons from each of these great, fantastic movies helps. So yeah, they definitely came back in my mind a lot.
Great. I think that about wraps me up. Thanks so much for your time, and all the best with the next projects that you've got going on.
Thank you so much, man. It was such a pleasure talking to you. Appreciate it. Thank you.